All right. Yesterday, we learned about the month of Kislev. This is the Dvar Malchut. These are the speeches of the Lubavitcher Rebbe in the last 2 years that he was able to speak, right? And he was able to speak in 1992. This is 1992 in Parshas Vayishlach. It's also a preparation for Chanuka. Next week it'll even be more. And for Yutet Kislev. Yutet Kislev is a very big holiday in Chabad. It's the day that the first Rebbe of Chabad, the one who wrote the Tanya, got released miraculously from prison after sitting in prison for 53 days under the the threat of a death punishment. And miraculously he was released. And not only was released, but also all the Tsar and all the others, they realized that that he was right and he was holy and that he was only for their good. And this also began a whole new era in the teaching of Hasidut, that the Rebbe started writing long explanations of his Jewish ideas, long explanations about how the relationship between God and the Jewish people and the world and the Torah, they're very positive and exact, fiery terms. So the Rebbe here is explaining like this, that the purpose of the Jews is like the moon. The Jewish people are compared to the moon, and especially in the coming of the Mashiach is going to be like the full moon. And even more, it says that the moon will be like the sun. The moon will be as bright as the sun. And of course, we're talking about physically, but the main thing is we're talking about as spiritually, or let's even say more, we're talking about realistically. There'll be a whole new reality that'll even put the spiritual to shame. A new reality, a revelation of truth, of what God is. And that's what it means that the moon, which now has to receive from God's light, will be, which receives from the light of the sun, which that's all a metaphor for how the world receives from God, has to receive from godliness. And in the future, it'll be that the world itself will shine godliness. We'll see the reason why God is creating it and how the world is really infinite as it was used with Torah and the commandments. Okay, that's the purpose, the full moon. So why is it that the holiday of Yutet Kislev and of Chanukah are coming in the second half of the month when the moon is getting smaller and the days are darker? The nights are darker and darker. Why? So the Rebbe says, let's look at this thing closely. When the moon is, what do you call it, waning, it's getting less and less. So that's a sign that it's getting closer, the moon is getting closer and closer to the sun. We just don't feel, that's why we don't see it, because the revelation is too high. It's getting close to the sun. And therefore, the source, in a way, is more revealed. But the revelation is not revealed. The moon is closer to the sun. It's closer to the sun. So therefore, the whole system is closer to the source. But we just don't see it. We don't see it because it's a level of closeness that we can't perceive, we can't digest. But the fact is that there's more revelation then. The moon is actually closer to the sun. He says that's what it's going to be. This is a hint at this new type of light, this light which we can't accept because the moon is getting too close to the sun. This is what it means that in the future it says that the light of the moon will be the light of the sun. In other words, what? That both the moon and the sun also receives from a source. That the moon and the sun will receive from a higher source of the higher source than even the sun itself. And this we can learn from the moon. The moon, which is willing to darken itself in order to get closer to the source, which that source is above what we can accept. So the same thing is going to be in the future, that source which the moon is approaching, that source will be revealed. So it says the moon, therefore, will be more illuminating than the sun, and the sun itself will be more illuminating than it is right now. Why? Because both of them will receive from the source of light. So that's what it means. Because then the moon will be made like the sun. That's what it says that in the days of the Mashiach, the Jewish people, that's like the moon, and God, which is like the sun, they'll be all one. All the mysteries of the Torah will be revealed to anybody who wants to read the Torah, any Jew at least. And a deeper way. Okay, so what is the Rebbe talking about over here? The Rebbe is saying that it's not just heaven and there's this world, there's heaven and there's hell. That's it. There's just these three levels. There's heaven. That's like the sun, there's more light. And then there's this world. That's like the moon. It's all dark, receiving from the sun. And then that's what there is. People that didn't do good, so they got to go to hell in order to get cleaned off so that they'll be able to leave this world and go to the next one. Well, says the Rebbe, but there's a source, there's a creator who creates also the heavens and the earth, that creates the spiritual and the physical. And this creator is what we want to reveal. This is the true oneness of the Jews. That's what it means when we say Shema Yisrael Hashem Echad, that God is one. It means that there's only one creator. The earth is not being created by the heavens. The heavens and the earth have a common source. The same thing, the sun is not the source of light. The sun and the moon both receive from this principle which is called light. And from this principle, from the essence of light, that's what we're going to receive in the future. But this is all this, I'm talking about the sun and the moon and the light. That's just all basically like a metaphor to have a little bit of an understanding, or at least an approach, of the tremendous novelty that there's going to be in the future redemption. It's not going to be the world like we see it now. In the beginning, it will be. In the beginning, it'll be the Olam Kaminag Noeg. It'll be regular, and just the Jews won't have any more problems. But eventually, it's going to be a revelation of the truth, which we've never had. A little glimpse of it we had at Mount Sinai. Says the Rebbe, if so now we can understand why the full moon of the month of Kislev, which is the third month of the months of the winter, is more than the full moon in the month of Sivan, which that's the third month in the month of the summer. Now, in the month of Sivan, the third, number 3 month of the summer months, that's when we got the Torah. And Kislev is the number 3 month in the winter months. That's when we got the Hasidic, the inner Torah. Okay, the difference between the months of the summer and the months of the winter, and Kislev, remember, is the month of the winter. In the months of the summer, Me'ir Or B'chom HaShemesh, there's shining the light and the heat of the sun. But Tokef, powerfully, Begila Yoter, and more revelation than the months of the winter. Shekayetz Uzaman HaChom, because the summer is the time of heat. Vayamim Aruchim Me'alaylos, and the days are longer than the nights. Winter is Zman HaKor. Winter is the time of cold. Halaylos Aruchim, the nights are longer than the days. Be'ikar, especially Matamtzitz Kol Ha'aratzot, Eretz HaKodesh, especially in the Israel. And Israel is like the Holy Land. It's like the essence of all the other lands. The summer, the days are long. The winter, the days are short. What does this have to do with us serving God? It said in the months of the summer, Mudgash Baker is mainly the revelation of Shemesh Hashem, of what's called the illuminator, the sun of God, the light of God, S-U-N. The God's illumination, pure, big from above to below. We get, it's hot, it's light automatically. Which is not cases of the months of this winter. There is mainly stressed avodas on the service of the Jewish people, that we're the moon, from below to above. We have to make the light. We have to light up the nights. Look, and therefore, when the moon is full in the third month of the summer, that's the month of Sivan, right? When we got the Torah. Kavan said, Sheikro mitzad giloi. Since the revelation is what God does, He gives it to us. Not because of the service of the Jewish people, the moon. Therefore, you can see there's a difference between the sun and the moon. In the summer, there is more sun, and you can feel that it's a big gift. And there's a lot of daytime, there's a lot of light, there's a lot of heat. We didn't do anything to deserve it. Therefore, there's a big difference between the giver, God's doing everything, and we're doing nothing. So therefore, Harizeh, Adayin, Shleimus, Alavana, Kefisha, Mekabeles, Minachama. This is the moon, when the moon is full in the summer months, this is the moon, how it's receiving from the sun. Because the whole thing of the summer is God's doing it all. The sun is shining. The sun is a metaphor for God. But if we're talking about the full moon on the third month of the winter months, since the main thing is the service of the Jewish people, the moon, so it's stressed in this, the ultimate completion of what we said, the purpose of the giving of the Torah. The Torah was given on the third summer month. The third month is summer, Sivan. When the Torah was given on the third summer month, it was all God. God did everything. God took us out of Egypt. We didn't do anything to deserve the Torah. We never thought we would get such a thing. God gave the whole Torah. That's the wedding day. The wedding day between God and the Jewish people. The wedding day of God and the Jewish people is the third summer month. But then you can see the difference between the giver and the receiver. God did everything. We just received. But in the winter months, the third month of the winter months, where we have to do all the work ourselves. So it's not such a big distinction between the giver and the receiver. But the receiver, he does all the work, an equal amount. It's winter. We have to light up the darkness. That's a sign of what's going to be when the moon is going to be equal to the sun. The Jewish people and God will be one. The Yesh Losif, and we can also add on that this is also hinted at in the name Kislev. Kislev, this name is the name of the third winter month. Kislev includes two words. We did this before, the previous. There's two, Kislev, you can break it up into two words. Kes and Lamed Vav. Kes is covering. Covering, Kisui. Helem, concealment. Lamed Vav, this is the number 36, which is the gematria of Ele, these, revelation. These means you're pointing to something. 6 times 6. And the joining between both of them, the covering, Kes, and 6 times 6, which is revelation. Now, 6 is the number of emotions of God, godly emotions. A gedula, a gebura, a tiferet, a netzach, v'hod, yikol b'shamayim words. It's chesed, gebura, tiferet, netzach, hod, yisod. Those are the 6. So the revelation of these 6, each one contains 6. So the full revelation of God's emotions, that's 36. That's represented by the number 36. And that's like seeing miracles. Kais means it's covered over. That's the opposite. So this shows on a joining of what's hidden and what's revealed. Hainu sha'etzem, then the essence of God, which this is, essence of God, which this is concealed by us. Bob Iskalos comes revealed. Keven she'ein ze ba'ofen shel mashpia b'makabel. because the months of the winter, it's because of our work that we do. We, so to speak, are equal to the giver. We're equal to God, so to speak. We have to do the work, light up the darkness. They become one. So that's what Kislev means, the uniting of this concealed aspect of God, the higher aspect of God, like the dark side of the moon, the concealed part of God, which cannot be revealed to anyone, and it becomes Lamed Vav, it becomes revealed. So the hidden becomes revealed. This is a sign of the uniting of the creator, who's concealed, and the creation, which is revealed, uniting them. How can there possibly be such a thing? So the answer is it's impossible. It can't be. And that's exactly what the month of Kislev is. It does the impossible. Mudgash also, this is also stressed in the holiday of, which is the end of Kislev, Chanuka. The holiday of Chanuka, this is the end of the month. This is when indicating when the light of the moon is getting less and less and less to the point where it's not there at all. This hints the revelation of the idea of continuing and adding on. In the darkness, as the darkness gets progressively more, is what do? We're adding more light. The first night we light one candle. The second night we light two candles. From here we add on. From day to day, the light of the Chanukah candle becomes more and more, while the light of the moon seemingly becomes less and less. But it's not so. It's this concealed aspect that the moon can't reveal to us, that becomes more. That's when we see that the number of the days of the month is the 25th, the 26th, 27th, the numbers go up. So the darkness is increased, the month of darkness, but the source of this darkness isn't because of bad, it's because it's so high we can't reveal it. And this is hinted at by the lights of Hanukkah that keep increasing. And also the date of the month which increases. Shebezeh mudgash, a mute or lavana, eino elamute bedarga. The revelation of this light, it's just the level of the light, just a ray of light, mipenei kiruv le'etzem shelamaylam yaora, which is above any revelation, which is above any sort of revelation. Of a low mute biskalus. This is not a revelation. This is not a limiting of God's revelation, because what every day we see that there's more and more light. Where is there more light? It's getting darker and darker outside. The moon is getting smaller. It says, no, there's really more light. That's what's indicated by the Hanukkah candles. 2 lights, 3 lights. It continues and becomes more and more revealed. According to this, now we can explain why that the month, the month, why it is that the what's called Rosh Hashanah of Chassidut, the New Year's Day of Chassidut Chabad. And again, just to stress that the whole purpose, the whole goal of Chassidut Chabad is only to bring the Mashiach. And Mashiach is only in order to awaken the good which is concealed in the world. So Mashiach is not an individual thing. It's not just a Jewish thing. It's not just a Chabad thing. It's a godly thing. And anyone who's created by God, it needs the Mashiach. Who is created by God? Everybody. We all need the Mashiach. If the animals would know, they would also be crying out, screaming out for Mashiach. But I don't know if they have appreciation. Maybe they do. In any case, the idea of Chassidut Chabad is devoted to the only solution to the world's problems. Right? There have been so many solutions, communism and this and this, to solve the world's problems, and they've all been wrong, even though they've all been very appealing to certain people, but they're all wrong. On the other hand, the Torah, which is not very appealing to anybody, and everybody is pretty much against it, but nevertheless, that really is the secret. And that secret is concealed inside of Chassidut, Chabad. It really is concealed inside of Kabbalah, but Chassidut Chabad revealed it. That's like Kislev, taking what's concealed, case, the essence of God, and live and revealing it. According to this, we can explain the reason why the New Year's Day of Rosh Hashanah is after the moon is full. the uniqueness of, see how much we've got to go. Okay, I don't know. Here we go. The uniqueness of Rosh Hashanah, the beginning of the year, Tishrei, right? And the giving of the Torah, which is in Sivan, but how it relates to Torah Chassidut, namely, Rosh Hashanah is Yutet Kislev, and Matan Torah is also the same thing, giving of the Torah, third month, we said. It's called the holiday of holidays, because there is revealed the mystery behind all the holidays, all the Torah. That in it we begin to reveal the Torah of the Mashiach, the reasons for the Torah, the secret, hidden mysteries of the Torah. Like it says, a new Torah is going to come out from me. It's in the Midrash, in the Midrash. It says, Isaiah says that the Torah is going to come out from me, and the Midrash says it's going to be a new Torah. What does it mean, a new Torah? We'll feel the godliness in every word and every sentence. We'll feel the godliness of the Torah. Incomparably more than it was even when the Torah was given at Mount Sinai. And it says the Torah that a person learns in this world is just like wind comparison to the Torah of the Mashiach. One of the main things of the days of the Mashiach in regarding to the Torah when it was given at Mount Sinai is getting married, the marriage. This is a comparison to a king that he married a woman and he gave her a small gift. Since he came to actually consummate the wedding, as he wrote he gave her a lot of gifts, like a husband. First of all, they were just engaged, so he gave her a little, whatever it is, a little gift, a watch or something, and then afterwards he gave her a house. Also, the engagement was this whole world is like an engagement, like it says, and when God gave the Jews the Torah, he only gave them the moon, like it says, but in the days of the Mashiach, that's going to be the consummation of the wedding of God and the Jewish people, like it says, because your husband, he is the one that's going to make you. But Otosha, at that time, Mosalem, God is going to give the Jews everything. Like it says, the maskilim yazhiru, the wise ones will shine like the shine of the heavens. Matstike rabim kakochavim la'olam vo'ed. It says those who benefit, the multitudes will shine like the stars forever and forever. It's a pasuk in Daniel, Isaiah, Daniel. Yeah. Then there'll be a unification of the Jewish people with God to be one. That's the idea of marriage. This is going to be the days of the Mashiach. Then will be what it says, the light of the sun will be like the light of the light of the moon will be like the light of the sun. The Jewish people, like they're like the moon. They won't just be like the moon that receives from the sun. Like it was in the beginning when God gave the Torah. It says, I just gave you the moon. But it'll be the Jewish people, they'll be like the sun itself. I'm giving you everything, even the light of the sun in the sky. Even Shemit Galeh, because it revealed that the Jews and God are totally one. We can also say that this is also why is that the New Year's Day and the giving of the Torah of Chassidut is after the moon is already full and is getting less and less. This is hinted at the completion of the moon after it finishes receiving from the sun. The moon is finished receiving from the sun. It doesn't need the sun anymore. Shemit karevet elachamad, because then the moon starts coming next to the sun itself, not just to the light of the sun. It unifies with the sun to be totally one. That's why the Yutet Kislev comes after the moon is full, when the moon is starting to get less. Because when the moon is getting less, it means that the moon is coming closer to the sun. And that's the whole purpose of Judaism, the whole purpose of the world, and what Hasidus Chabad is, especially in special detail, because it's going to be on the third day. This year it's going to be on the fourth day of the month. That okay, let's do this tomorrow, God willing. Okay, let's do the Dvar Malchut, the Yom Yom today. Yom Yom. We'll continue this tomorrow. Remember, we'll have to remember where we were. We're right before Yud, right? Right before Yud. Here we go. We have a tradition that began with the Baal Shem Tov, that when a person hears something bad about another Jew, even if you don't know who the person is, you should feel very pained. Because one of these, someone's wrong. If what they're saying is about the bad thing about the person, if that's true, then the person's being spoken about has a defect. And if it's a lie, then the person who's speaking, he's the one that's defective. But in any case, someone's defective. So therefore, don't listen to bad things said about people, and don't say bad things about people. It only brings bad into the world. Have a good day with Mashiach. Now, God willing, 3:00, we're going to learn Chumash together. The meeting, yesterday we talked about the battle between Jacob and the angel, and now we're going to talk about the meeting between Jacob and Esav, which we've been talking about for the last few days. Have a good day with Mashiach.